Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 113 burn down. Let me add the link to the minutes in the chat. And the usual disclaimer, this is being recorded and will go on YouTube shortly. So please be mindful of what you say. With that, let's get started. So timeline status, I moved it to yellow, mainly because we are pursuing few fixes and CI is still not pretty clear on the fixes that went in yesterday. So I have moved the status back to yellow, but we'll discuss in detail. Mainly, we're tracking all the storage flakes related to the CSI issue, the subpath failures. I'll hold off on talking about this until we get to the CI section, because that's what mostly we'll be focusing there. Apart from that, we are tracking a fix for an actual bug around the node plugin. This is the 71424 around kubelet removing the node ID annotation. So that, after investigation yesterday, storage is putting a fix in for that, which is still in review. Saad, I also saw there was an end-to-end test that's being added for this. Do you have any insight of if the test is also going to be ready to merge sometime today?
I don't believe it's going to be ready today. The testing that's been done has been manual so far, and we'll go in with that, and then we'll get the extra test merged whenever it's ready. The other test is doing things beyond just verifying this fix.
Okay. And the existing CI that we have will not catch this issue if it repros or regresses, right?
I don't believe it will, no. So we're gonna go ahead and add the test, but I don't want to block on adding that test because I'm not sure if we're going to be able to distill it down to just something to verify this.
Hey, Saad. I think we might actually be able to see this issue in the serial suite with the PD CSI tests.
In the existing state or with some modification?
No, in the existing state.
Have they already been flaking or have we seen it?
I'm not sure. But I think technically the PD CSI driver registers with the same driver name, and then the tests will in serial be start unregistered.
I think the PD tests also do the PD driver does the right thing where it cleans up after itself.
Yeah.
So it doesn't encounter this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's only if you don't actually clean up after yourself. And
I thought it. Okay. Anyway.
I think David posted on the PR about that.
Okay. So it looks like we won't be able to get the backing test for this in time for 113.
No, that's unlikely.
Okay. If this is the only outstanding issue by end of day tomorrow, then I think we'll have to make a call. Josh, what do you feel about the test not going in for this bug fix? Is this something that we've done in the past?
So doing a bug fix and not adding a test for it?
Yeah.
We've done that a lot in the past, actually. We really shouldn't, but we've done it a lot.
Okay. I know that's not a great trend, but if this is the only outstanding issue as of tomorrow, when we are due to lift the code freeze, and if it's still not something that can get wrangled in, then probably we'll have to make an exception. But I'll make a note of it. Okay. All right. Other than that, for the release itself, we are still on track to get the RC1 cut end of day today. I'm hoping that the fix for the issue about gets in by then. So, Saad, do you think the fix can be merged by 5 p.m. or so today?
I think that seems pretty reasonable. Jordan had some questions on the PR, but looks like Vlad's already addressing them. And I've pinged Vish, who we need approval for from, and we should be able to get that approval. So I think the 5 p.m. merge seems reasonable.
Yeah, I'm hoping this doesn't affect any other CI signal, but yeah, I'll also keep an eye on that.
Yep.
Cool. And as for code freeze, it remains hopefully as per schedule tomorrow. There's no early lift at this point. So we are still hoping to get this by tomorrow evening, but we'll see once we discuss CI signal. That said, let's move on to CI signal. Josh, do you want to go over those items there? I just added the notes.
So at this point, we don't have any outright failing tests. What we have is a whole bunch of flakes. But it's enough flakes that there is never any time at which all tests are passing. Something is always flaking. And this is sort of an assortment between new flakes that have appeared during the 113 cycle, and flakes that are older but are happening more often now. I'm having some difficulty getting attention from SIGs other than storage, and I suspect that's because a bunch of people are at AWS reInvent. We may be making the decision of, do we go to release with these flakes still unaddressed? Okay. Beyond that, in terms of, SIG release 113 blocking is technically passing. There's a bunch of flaky things, but none of them are newly flaky. These are all things that have been flaky chronically. Upgrade is, as usual, one of my main concerns about this. New master upgrade cluster parallel is failing as of today. It has been flaky for the whole cycle, but all of them today have failed for different reasons.
This is new master upgrade.
This is usually one of our reliable upgrade tests. So I'm
sorry, I'm just trying to see which one.
Oh, hold on, chat.
Okay.
There we are.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is one of our more reliable upgrade tests, so that the fact that it failed 4 times in a row is a little nervous making.
But again, it's failing on different tests.
Yeah. But I'm digging into the kube control port forwarding one right now. I think that's new as a failure.
Okay.
Although it may be related to existing IPv6 known problems.
Yeah, I remember triaging something similar to this, but it was in SIG network. It was a SIG node issue, so the SIG one. We might have an existing issue, but we'll see. So going back to the storage specific ones there in the list. So the flaky CSI subpath stuff, as of this morning, I updated the issue there. We are still seeing a bunch of flakes, mainly in the slow jobs. So at this point, and I saw Saad's follow-up comment of it's due to the external sidecar issue. So I would like to get a consensus if this should be considered blocking or not, and we should just move them to continuous attention during 114 at this point.
Yeah, my understanding is that the issue is caused by a delay in the sidecar container getting ready. I've opened up an issue in the sidecar container to look at that. That delay is consistently about exactly a minute. And the tests basically are not waiting long enough for that. So sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. If they wait long enough, they're green. If they don't wait long enough, they end up being red.
Okay. So is this minute delay something a user would experience, or is this some sort of artifact of the testing environment?
So it is something that a user might experience. But
I think it's exasperated by the test environment. So basically for every test case, we bring up and bring down the driver. in a normal like production scenario, you would bring up your driver once in the beginning and you would never bring down your driver again.
Good. And is this, pardon me, is this delay new in 113 for some reason, or has this always been there?
I think it's always been there. We just added a lot more testing in 1.13, which is surfacing issues like this.
Okay. Okay. So this sounds like a long-term issue rather than necessarily a blocker.
Did we also see this with the driver tests and entry volumes, or is it completely just for CSI that we're seeing this?
This is only for one CSI driver. It's not for all of them. Like, we're not seeing it on the PD one at all.
And these
For
new
one specific test for one specific driver, the host path one, which is not a real driver. It's a kind of test mock driver.
Okay. I didn't cross-check the latest failures to see if it was all host path, but looks like it is. At least upgrade ones are only the host path driver that's failing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, so at this point, are we, and they were all, okay, let's go in order. So this, are we then going to just move it to long-term or 114 importance zone?
I think that's fine. And in the meantime, we can mark it as flaky if you want to reduce the noise. And we'll continue to investigate it as well. If there's a fix that is made, it's going to be external to Kubernetes. The only internal change would be updating the end-to-end test to pick up a new version of the container. And we can do that if we find a fix within the 113 time frame. But otherwise, I wouldn't block 113 on this issue.
Okay. Okay, Josh.
I think as a short-term mitigation, we can just increase the timeout on the test.
Yeah, that might be sufficient.
So wait, so this is the CSI subpath issues?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So it's great if you increase. You guys are thinking about increasing it greater than a minute, just to be on the safer side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to actually discuss this afterwards to figure out whether we want to increase the timeout or just mark it as flaky. We might do both. We might increase it and mark it as flaky, and then if it goes green, we'll pull it back out.
Okay. Josh, how do you feel about that?
That's fine. I mean, the question always for these is, do we know why it's failing? And is the, do we know why it's failing? Is this something a user would experience, and is it new? And the answer is yes, yes, and no. So, so one of those things, I kind of feel like this should be in the release notes somewhere, just in case anybody's using these drivers for the first time, which they very well might be since CSI is going 1.0. And just say, these drivers are known to take, over a minute to start up in some cases. That is the sort of thing that release notes are for, and that way, hopefully, we won't have a whole bunch of people filing issues about it.
Yep, that makes sense. I can do that.
Okay. All right. I'll capture this in the minutes about the either increasing the timeout of flaky or tagging the test as flaky as well. So the next one was the detach volume. As far as I saw this morning, this seems fixed.
Yeah, I took a look at it as well. It seems like it's been green since it's merged. If you want, we can leave it open until end of day to see if we can get a better signal, but I think it's fixed.
Okay. But this was also the issue where there was an edge case that was probably not fixed by the...
Yes. So it might flake again. But again, this was all test issue here. It was the test is trying to catch a race condition, and it's always difficult to write those kinds of tests in the same way.
Okay. So at this point, I'm not concerned about this. Josh, do you have any inputs on this one?
No, that's fine. So the remaining issue, I guess, would be the flex mount issue?
Yep. And there are the other two CSI subpaths. There's an unmount or something, and one more. That's not subpatch.
So I looked at least one of the two CSI ones, the host path one, I believe it was. And it is the same root cause with the 1 minute timeout.
Sod. I'm actually looking at the one host path one remaining.
Okay.
And when I looked at the logs, it looks like there was image pulling errors.
Okay, I might be looking at the other one then. We can sync offline.
Yeah, sure. But I'm gonna open up a issue for this one and figure out if the image pull errors were a temporary thing or if it's a issue on the node.
Sounds good.
Okay, so these at this point it is blocking 113 because we don't know the exact. Michelle, do you have issues open for these two? If not,
I haven't opened them yet, but I'm about to.
Okay. And then David was looking at the other subpath issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So those two are still failing. I mean, they're still flaky. I see a whole bunch of those, in fact, in the master blocking suite. And then there was a flex mount issue.
Actually, so I was looking, maybe I have my triage links wrong, but I was looking at the host path one and I only saw one failure in the last week.
Okay, I saw at least a couple this morning, but I didn't know which host path. There are two of them, right? So I didn't look too deeply to see which subpath issue that was.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the ones. Well, anyway, we can sync up on our search terms, I guess.
Okay. And then there's the flex mount one. At this point, that also seems new to 113.
I've asked Hamant to take a look at the flex mount flakes.
Okay. So it looks like we do have at least two new issues then that needs triaging. And then there was the in-tree volumes. So as per the latest comment from on the issue, it looks like they were also outside of KK that's causing the timeouts. So I wanted to know if this was any new 113 functionality at all that we should be looking at.
Which issue are you talking about?
This is, let me ping this.
71469. Oh, hold on. Yeah. 71469.
Yeah, so that particular failure is just a test setup issue.
Okay.
But there's a few more flakes with in-tree volumes that I've asked Masaki to look into. For the most part, though, we did not make, other than CSI, we did not make any other changes to in-tree volumes in 113.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect most of the in-tree volume flakes we see are probably because we've been adding a lot of new tests and stuff.
Okay, so there was no any relevant code change that went in 113. Yeah, I do see, going back in triage, I did see this previously as well. But yeah, they were failing either for different drivers or they had a different error trace. So at this point, I don't know if we should still keep this as a blocking issue, considering these flakes did show up earlier as well. Josh, do you have any inputs on the in-tree one? In-tree volumes?
Those are fairly random, and unless there's something that SIG storage knows would have changed, then it's one of those long-term flake cleanup issues, along with many others that we are tracking. I really think we need to team up with Test Infra and have a sort of deflaking project to deal, because the problem is long-term flake issues never get addressed.
Yeah.
once they're decided not to be release blocking, no one works on them. So but that is not for this meeting.
Mhm. Okay, so circling back then, the open issues are mainly the flex mount and the two other CSI subpath that we are triaging at this point.
Yes, that sounds accurate.
Josh, are there any other failures specific to SIG storage that I'm missing?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Okay, so I'll watch out for these. We don't have an issue open for flex mount. Josh, can you?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and open that one. Yeah.
Awesome. And we'll just track that to see where it leads. Thanks, Saad and Michelle, for both working on it and keeping us updated. Yeah. And the next few flakes are, the network affinity issue. There's absolutely no response from the SIG there. But I did see, going back in triage, that this at least happened during 112 and if not even earlier.
It's not new, but it's tripled in frequency.
Okay.
So something has changed either in testing or in the environment or in code to make it more frequent.
Got it. So triple since 112 is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it actually, I put in the issue when I see it increasing in frequency.
Okay.
Because I figured out the date at which it suddenly jumped in how often it was happening.
Okay.
So I would like to at least get SIG Network to weigh in on it to date, and keeping in mind that it's been just over 24 hours.
Yeah.
I have not gotten anybody from SIG Network to respond.
Yep. All right, let's see if we can get any traction on this. Hopefully by today, if they need to fix something before the freeze ends. Okay.
Yeah, October 27th is when it got much more flaky. And by the way, we've been talking, I looked into the kube control port forwarding one. Not a new flake. In fact, it's actually less frequent than it was 2 months ago.
Okay.
So not a blocker, although I am going to try to get SIG CLI to address it since there is no open issue around it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the last one was the soak job. I know that we had a run yesterday after Sen kicked it off, but it was timing out. But the timeout, it always times out. I've had I've only seen a few fully passed green runs on that job. But was there a specific issue you were trying to verify with that job?
There were a couple of things, a couple of tests that were breaking. No, I can't even find them. There are a couple of sort of chronic flake issues that show up in that job, that job's failures when the job is actually running.
I see.
And it would be nice to know whether or not those were actually fixed. Now, some of these, for that and for slow, some of these are the same CSI issues we've already been talking about. And so we'll see those on other jobs. At this point, it's hard for me. I'd actually have to search the text of issues because now at this point, the entire visible history of the SOAP job is timeouts.
Yep, exactly. So I'm not able to see any useful test results there at all.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why the SOAP job is in all and not in blocking. It's always been prone to timeouts.
Yep.
So,
all right.
Yep.
Hopefully there's another job running right now. I don't know if we'll, hopefully if it finishes and you're able to see, track the failures that you were tracking before. Let's see. I don't know if, for the network affinity issue, I don't know if I can find somebody else to take a look at it. Cool.
Yeah, I mean it's not a super concerning failure. I just want an opinion on it, and my worry is that everyone is at AWS reInvent and simply will not answer their messages for a week.
Okay. All right. We'll have to see if this is the only blocker, and then get some eyes on it. If that's the case, by tomorrow, Let's follow up on that offline. So, are there any other? I don't think there's any other issue at this point. And 113 blocking seems to be for what it is worth. Cool. Should we move on to issues then, Josh?
That's it. Yep.
Awesome. The last 4 minutes left. Nico, can you give a quick update on the issues?
Yeah, I can. Let me bring up the list. Everything that was up since yesterday got merged. Lots of small fixes here and there.
Yep.
One fixed feature gate inconsistent between root CA cert publisher post cluster roles. It's minor fix on cluster roles. It's in the merge queue, might have merged already. The other one is the fix race condition for the storage issue. Some comments by Jordan, and should merge by end of day today. The other one won't be for 113, the tests. And the last one is sanity fix for dogs. Is just one character, and it can.
Is it the Kubernetes? Okay.
Yeah, that's minor one. That's all.
Yeah, the feature gate one seems new, but yeah, I'll take a look at that. And as for the issues itself, we have just one critical urgent. Is that right?
It's related to the race condition fix, so it's the issue for that. It's nothing new.
I think once we have the new test failure flake issues open, we can add it just until they get triaged out. Cool. All right. Thanks. And Cole, test infra?
So there's that one pending PR.
Yes.
For the etcd version bump. I think I'd still like to see Aaron's question answered before we go forward with that, because there were some alternatives to this, and it's kind of unclear why we're choosing this option.
Yeah, and I'm like super nervous changing it at this point, especially if we don't know. If we've never done this for a few releases now, I would like to know what's the urgency to update it. Though it's good to have the latest version and everything, but I'm nervous of changing it at this point. I would like to hold it till till we get a clear signal on the other failures and flakes for 113, and then probably update this later.
Okay. The other thing that I had to mention real quick was that I noticed that I linked in the document, but I noticed that we have some docs that say that our post-release requirements are not the same as the normal dev requirements, which is not something that we've implemented, or it's something that is possible with Tide, but it's not something that we've ever done before. So I'm wondering if this was intended to be a new policy that we're doing this release.
Yeah, the main thing I see is the milestone. I don't think we had discussion about this in the SEEK release last week, and we decided not to have the milestone tag once we come out of, once we are not in either slush or freeze.
Okay. Well, the main thing to keep in mind is that whatever we're doing for this branch, this can't go on for all eternity in this branch, because we can't have separate merge requirements for every release branch past the end of the release cycle. Otherwise, we'd have more and more distinct sets of merge requirements, which would eat up our API token usage.
Got it. So I'm looking at the document that you linked. So this week 12 plus, is that the requirement for 113 branch, or is it even the master requirement?
So I would have expected the post-release section to not exist at all, and that we would just go back to the normal dev.
Okay, and then anyway, 113 is branched off, so
Yeah, it's on its own branch, so it's controlled separately.
Okay. I would assume that that's what this is meant to be. I see Tim on the call. Tim, is it something that you modified consciously during 112, especially the week 12 plus label requirements?
No. And I think this goes back to the cherry pick requirements being under-documented. So this is just stable branch. What are the requirements to get things in there?
There's also like the priority, critical, urgent, and then the specific kind labels and the milestone.
Yeah, I don't think it should be any different than what master was earlier.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't enforcing that in previous releases, so if it wasn't a problem, then unless there's conscious change, I wouldn't think it would be a problem now.
If it wasn't enforced, I mean, that's fine then. I think this is partly kind of the aspirational intent that the stable branches are supposed to only get those things, critically urgent bug fixes or things that were related to a failing test to ensure upgrade is able to succeed. But if there hasn't been enforcement of that, then that is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, the traffic is usually so low on those branches, and everything that goes into those has to be manually hacked by the release branch manager. That enforcement, like talking to the bot and labeling, putting 6 labels on something wasn't really giving a lot of value there.
Okay.
Especially if it helps with our API usage.
Thanks for bringing that up though. Maybe then we can just fix the documentation there to not include those.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it could just be the English text of post-release stable branches only get critical bug fixes, and they're handled through a special cherry pick process. That would totally make sense to do.
Okay, well, I'll get the Tide merge requirements ready and update those docs then.
Cool. Thank you. And we're almost over time. We're all over time. Tim, any quick call-outs for docs?
Not particularly. We've got a few stragglers, but hopefully they'll be closing the next few days. So it's not great, but it's not bad either.
Okay. I sent out another note to KDev yesterday, just saying that today is the merge deadline.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we should see more merges during the day today.
Everybody's being responsive, so I'm hopeful that we should get it through.
Cool. And Mike, release notes?
Hey, yeah, I'll keep it quick. I wrote more detailed update in the doc, but basically making good progress on final copy edits to the doc. Going to continue doing that. And the plan right now is to copy the completed notes into KK either Thursday or Friday so that it's there for the release cut on Monday. So that's the plan and timeline right now. And so far, so good.
Okay. The only thing that came out of this meeting was following up with storage to get the 1 minute latency on the driver registration, maybe as a known issue. Yeah. Awesome. Caitlin, are you there for comms? I don't see her, but I'm hoping everything is on track. Awesome. That's all I got. Any other questions? If not, have a happy Tuesday all. We'll see you tomorrow.